Welcome back, guys. Thanks for checking out today's video. Sorry for the lack of YouTube content. I had no intention of taking this long or taking a break this long on YouTube. But today, I hope to do the first video in like 3 or 4 months, I think it's been. And what I chose to do was, I think we should do a long-term update on the K997. So hopefully you guys are interested in that. Let's get started. Well guys, it's long overdue, but I've been meaning forever to get back into YouTube. I love doing YouTube, but you know what? It's been a busy season, it's been busy summer, and I've been enjoying driving this car. So it's time to get back into YouTube. So hopefully, like I said, this will be the first of many. And I had no intention of taking such a long break from YouTube. It's just, you know what? Life happens and things, there's priorities and all that stuff. But anyways, recently went to Connecticut to check out Grid Life and hang out with like Speed Academy. They were down there and a bunch of friends were racing and whatnot at the Grid Life event in Connecticut. And it was a super cool event. The roads in Connecticut are amazing. So I drove this car down to Connecticut to that Grid Life event. I got to meet Tommy Effia, got to check out his shop. That was super cool. He has an amazing shop. And got to meet Jimmy Oakes, super cool guy. Got to meet and hang out with a bit with Gears and Gasoline, super cool guys. Super fun event. I'm definitely gonna go back to that event next year and find any excuse to go back to Connecticut because it's not too far and the roads there are amazing. But anyways, like I said, I wanna do a long-term update on this car. I've been driving it ever since I finished it, which was last spring, so like over a year and a half ago. In that time, I've put over 10,000 kilometers on the car, and it has been amazing. I could not be happier, honestly, could not be happier. The K24 swap is amazing. So actually, before I get into any of this, anyone that's new and hasn't seen any of the videos or just happened to stumble upon this video, this is my 2006 Porsche 911 Carrera S. I guess it's like over 2 years ago, I started the process of swapping in a Honda K24 and boosting it and getting it to run. And I have a whole playlist on this car, start to finish, of building this car, doing the swap, and it's been over 10,000 kilometers of driving it now, and honestly, I love it. But it was long overdue. I was chatting with Pete from Speed Academy, and he's like, you should do a long-term update. I'm like, that would be the perfect video, I think, to get back into YouTube. So, long-term update on my K-Swap 997. All right, guys, so like I said, if you're new, this is my 2006 Porsche 911 Carrera S. It was a manual 6-speed car, and I bought it, and I wanted it to look like a GT3. So I bought real GT3 front and rear bumpers, wheels, upgraded the brakes to GT3. These are the 6-piston. It normally comes with 4-piston up front. GT3 wing, so all real GT3 parts. And so the car looks the part, and it was great. I owned it like this with the original engine for a long time. And then I was bored. I'm like, I wanted more power and all that. And I contemplated different options. And I went through all this in the original video. I can link it up in the description if you want. But I wanted more power. I'm a Honda tuner, and I really believed that swapping in the Honda K24 and boosting it would be a good idea. And a year and a half later of running, I am totally sold. I could not be happier with this car. So I've put 10,000 kilometers on the car. It has been fantastic. It basically, for all intents and purposes, you can't even tell that it's been swapped, that it has a Honda engine in it. The power is fantastic. All the creature comforts are there. Actually, last year, in November, I think it was, I took this car down to Florida. I met up with Boosted Boys, and we had no air conditioning in the car. I had not gotten around to hooking that up, so like one of the first things I did this season was connect air conditioning, and maybe I'll put it up in a moment and show you what I did, but actually, let's just jump in. Put the car up in the air, and I'll show you how I did the AC lines, because a lot of people have asked, can you keep air conditioning? And you definitely can. The plan all along was to use all OEM Honda accessories. So it has OEM Honda power steering pump up top that has the OEM Honda water pump, and this is an OEM Honda AC compressor. I was able to find some universal fittings online. They were super inexpensive, like $10 each or something like this. Locally, I was able to find a shop that specializes in repairing air conditioning for, I guess, like big trucks, like semi trucks and things like that. And I was able to buy rubber hose from them and basically make my own custom lines. So high pressure and a low pressure, custom rubber line through the engine bay, and connected to the original Porsche hard lines here. Yeah, so boom, super easy. I wish I had done this earlier. Like, it legit took no time at all. Once I found the fittings, it was super easy to run these lines. Then I just got a shop to vacuum the system, charge it, and I connected the one wire to the AC compressor, and boom, it all works. I can push the AC button, set the temperature I want, and yeah, all the climate control works normally. Just turn it on, turn it off, set the temperature I want, the fan speed, all of that, set it to auto, do whatever I want, and air conditioning worked. Actually, while I have it up in the air, one thing I gotta do is, I'm pretty sure, that's hard to see, but I do have an air filter on it, and man, it gets dirty back here. I'm so glad I ran an air filter. This filter is completely caked in dirt and dust and whatnot, so I should have actually just gone and bought a new air filter, because this is maybe holding me back. But anyways, this is what it is. 10,000 kilometers on this air filter. I really should replace it, or clean it at least, because it is super caked with dirt. But otherwise, it's been fantastic. Anyways, I jumped in there. Let's go back to the rest of the video. So yeah, the car is basically done. When I tuned it a year and a half ago, it was like 10 pounds of boost roughly, made 435 wheel horsepower, 330 torque if I remember correctly. And it has been great. It's a great power level for this stock engine. This is a completely stock K24 engine, K24 Z7 out of a 2014 Civic Si. Completely internally stock. And I put 10,000 kilometers on it, and it's been fantastic. The power level is perfect, but like all things, it's never enough, and you want more. And recently I found myself down in Mexico, and there was this Lamborghini Huracan also there, and we went fast, and he was faster than me. So rightly so, that car I think makes like 600 horsepower plus or whatever it is. So I think it's finally time to do stage 2 on this car, because I wanted to keep it with a stock original engine at a relatively reasonable amount of boost, making over 400 horsepower for as long as I could, to prove that this is a good idea. This is a viable engine solution if you happen to have one of these Porsches that has an engine failure, and that is a very common occurrence because these engines, while great like 15 plus years ago, they're aging and they're extremely expensive to maintain and fix if there's a problem. So my solution was swap in the Honda K24, turbocharge it, make more power, have peace of mind and reliability and all that stuff. So yeah, this is where we are. A year and a half later, enjoying the car, and it's time for more power. So I've been trying to decide what to do. Should I push the stock engine more to 500, see if I can get 500 reliably out of it, or do I just put in another engine with pistons and rods and upgrade the fuel system, because this is all original Porsche fuel system, fuel pump, fuel lines. It's a returnless fuel system, so there will be a limitation probably around the 500 horsepower range. So I've been trying to decide what to do. Should I upgrade the fuel system and then see how much power I can get out of the stock engine and see how long it lasts, see if I break it, or if I can make a reasonable like 500 horsepower and get another year out of it, put another 10,000 kilometers on it, and then maybe shoot for more? Or do I just upgrade the fuel system and do a piston rod engine and raise the boost, maybe add flex fuel and tune it so that it has a setting for like say 700 horsepower, and then a setting for like 500 horsepower, and then maybe just a setting at 400 horsepower for regular duty. The cool thing about this car is when I did it, I wanted to make it seamless, and everything, you'll see if you check out the old videos, or you know, the cluster and everything, the whole car basically works as it originally did, but with a Honda engine. And the ECU that I used to do all this was a Civex plug and play for this car, and that allowed me, that ECU is super flexible. and has tons of features. I'm not even scratching the surface of that ECU. It's super cool. It integrates with the CAN system properly, and there's some extra buttons here that I haven't ended up using. There is a sport button, and I've been trying to decide, like that's a CAN button, and I can use that sport button to do things like either run more boost, or I've been wanting to make the car quieter. And so I can put like a valved exhaust and have that with a sport button, all that stuff. The other cool thing about the Civic ECU is, well, some might not think it's cool. The cruise control no longer works, but they've hijacked the cruise control to control different map switching. So you can have different maps, different boost levels, turn on anti-lag, rolling anti-lag, cool things like that, all controlled via the stock that controls the cruise control. So I never ended up taking advantage of any of that stuff. Over the winter, I think I should do some of that stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to give you guys an update. The car has been amazing. I love it. Tons of people have reached out to me and asked if I can do it to their Porsche, because there's tons of these 911s that have blown engines. And the approach that I took was to design all the parts to do this so that I could recreate them. And I'm putting the final finishing touches on those parts so that if there's anyone else that wants to do this to their Porsche 911 that has a blown engine or just wants more power, and realistically, if you just want more power and you pull out the perfectly good engine like I did and sell the engine, you could finance most of this and basically get a more powerful, more reliable engine, and peace of mind that if you happen to have another engine failure, like you're only into it for a stock replacement Honda engine, which is like $1,000. To do this swap, it's actually pretty expensive in parts. I usually try to compare it to what it would cost to do a K-swap into a Civic or a car that never had a K-swap and then turbocharge it. Realistically, to do that properly, you're gonna spend somewhere between $6,000 and $10,000 to swap the K-Series into the Civic, and another $6,000 to $10,000 to turbocharge it. And that's kind of in line with what it would cost if you got really good deals to do this, if you're very handy, or technically if you, like anything, if you just hand off the car to a shop and get them to do everything, it's gonna cost exponentially more. But you gotta pay to play. I think it was totally worth the expense. I think I'm into it parts-wise for, let's call it about 15,000 US, roughly. The big ticket items on my build were the Civic ECU. That's an expensive ECU. I got a good deal on it, but like I think retail is like $6,000 or $7,000 US. There are much cheaper ECUs you could go with, and since then I've been working on developing different ECUs to make this more economical. Also, I went with a Garrett G35 900 turbo, which is kind of one of the best turbos money can buy for this size and power level, and it's an expensive turbo. You can look it up. I think it's around $3,000, but you can go with less expensive turbos if you want. Like my RSX here has a replica Garrett turbo. It's a ball bearing GTX 3582R, perfectly good turbo for even this Porsche application. This turbo I think is like $600. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you can approach this project. So all that being said, I kind of want to put it back on the dyno. I have my dyno, I'm not busy today, so why don't I put it on the dyno and see how much power it's making. It should still be 400 plus. It's a super hot day. I tuned it in the spring and it was like much cooler. And I'm not gonna go to the trouble of like taking off the bumper or anything. The intercooler is behind the bumper here and it has fans, but on the dyno, it doesn't actually get very good air circulation. I try to position the fans however I can. But when I first tuned it, I took the bumper off and it had much better airflow. That being said, when I am driving it, it has no issue with airflow, no issue with intake air temps. It is never really over 10 degrees of ambient, which is really good for an engine bay. So since I'm here and I own a dyno and I can do it, I have time, why don't I put on the dyno and see what it's making? I don't think I'm gonna turn it up or anything. I just wanna see that it's still running properly. And a year and a half later, since I haven't touched really the tune, well, I've kind of messed around with it a little bit, but I haven't put it back on the dyno in a year and a half. So it'd be cool to just see how it's doing. So why don't we do that? Sounds good. All right, well, there we have it. Just one quick dyno pull to see how it's doing, and I really haven't had it on the dyno to do any tuning since a year and a half ago when I first tuned the car, and still running about 10 pounds of boost. Today, with a much hotter temperature, it is 415 wheel horsepower. I couldn't get a torque reading because I couldn't get a clean RPM signal. And sometimes, I don't know, the Dynojet pickup for RPM signal just doesn't work, and it wasn't working here. So all I can show is horsepower. It's a little bit down on power today, but that is, I believe, because of the temperature. Let's see, what's the temperature in here today? 93. So it's not like your best case scenario for making power, but a year and a half later, much warmer temperature, and we're still at 415 wheel horsepower. Haven't really done any maintenance on the car other than oil changes. It might be time to do some spark plugs or something. And I know a lot of you guys have always commented, how do you do spark plugs? Well, it's super simple. Basically, the way the Porsche engine mounts work is they're just like threaded studs that like you can basically unscrew from underneath, and that lowers the engine down. And all I have to do is lower the engine down a little bit. Everything stays connected as is. I can access the spark plugs, do them, and yeah, but realistically, they're iridium spark plugs. They should be good for about 50,000 kilometers, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, I don't know, I'm pretty happy. 415 wheel horsepower on a hot, humid day. I'm still enjoying this car immensely. Could not be happier. One thing I almost forgot to mention is I also upgraded the tires this year, and I could not be happier. My friends at Speed Academy hooked me up with Continental, and Continental sponsored the car with a set of their tires. They hooked me up with a set of Extreme Contact Sport tires, and I could not be happier. They came in clutch right before the Grid Life event that I drove this car down to Connecticut for, and without the tires, I probably wouldn't have actually gone to the event because my old tires, they were shot, they were toast. They were so slippery to drive on. But there's tons of tread. They were just old. They were 2018 tires and they were getting slippery. These tires, like, oh my God, they are so good. I did upgrade the size a bit. So before I had 305, 35, 19s in the rear. I'm now running a set of Continental's 325, 30, 19. And this rim is a 12-inch rim. And even with a 325, there's still like a slight stretch, which is crazy. This rim is massive. When it's off the, like, it doesn't look crazy on the car, but when you have it off the car, 325 is ridiculous. Like, there is so much tire there. This car has crazy traction now. The old tires were so slippery, it would spin in first and second. Now it dead hooks in first. So like, what a difference. I did upgrade the front size as well. Before, with the old tires, they were 235, 35, 19. Now they are a set of 245, 35, 19. They fit this, I believe it's an 8.5-inch rim. They fit it better, and like, there's still a bit of stretch. I am tempted maybe next time around to try a 255 and just put a bit more tire up front to give us a bit more traction, a bit more handling. Because like with the old tires and these brakes, it was actually pretty easy to lock up the tires. So far, that hasn't been the case with these new tires. These tires hook up so much better in every single way. So very happy with these tires. Huge thanks to Continental for setting me up with them. They've made a world of difference with this car and made the trip to Connecticut so much more enjoyable. So anyways, yeah, that's about it for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I love this car. I could not be happier with it. And like I said, I intend to up the boost now that I've got 10,000 kilometers on this setup. It's proven itself reliably wise. I did the trip to Connecticut and back. That was like 1,500 kilometers round trip roughly. I drove there straight, like there and back straight. So like to get there was all this traffic. It was like 9.5 hours to get there and then like 7 hours to get back or something like that. So super comfortable car. I do want to make it a bit quieter still. The exhaust is too loud. I'm looking into solutions for that, but there's not a lot of space back there. So I might have to do some sort of custom muffler, but I'll keep you posted on that. But anyways, I think that's about it for this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. If you like it, do me a favor, hit the like button, and I will continue to make these videos for you guys. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye now.